Good evening. Thank you again to all of you for being here tonight at this forum. And at this moment, I would like to invite and welcome our candidates for State Assembly District 30, Ana Caballero and Karina Cervantes Alejo. For this section, candidates will each be given time for an opening and a closing statement, as well as 4 questions to answer in 2 minutes. Just let me know if you would like me to repeat any of the questions. Otherwise, I will only ask the question once. The first opening statement is for Ana Caballero.
On. So thank you very much to BenitoLink and the Farm Bureau for hosting this forum. I was sad to see so many of the students walk out, but thank you to all of you who have stayed. We're really honored that you would join us. I have the experience. I know how to get things done. I'm someone who listens to everybody, and I don't come in and tell your business people, your farmers, your elected leaders how to do things or what to do. I listen carefully, I work hard, and I never forget who elected me. I'm fair, and I work across the aisle to build consensus, and that's why I'm running for this position.
Thank you. Karina Cervantes.
Thank you also very much for this wonderful opportunity to engage in the civic process and discuss the important issues facing our 30th Assembly District. I currently serve as the Vice Mayor for the City of Watsonville. It's a trajectory into public service that got started doing exactly what all of you are doing, participating, being involved, registering voters, talking about the issues. I now, as a council member, have had the opportunity to work on issues around public safety, increasing revenue so that we can hire more police, more fire, and invest, just as important and critically, to prevention programs for young people. And it's work I hope to continue building upon when I get to Sacramento.
Thank you. At this moment, our first question will be for Karina. And the first question is, San Benito County is suffering from a serious and growing traffic congestion problem on Highway 25, Highway 156, and Highway 152. In 2016, the state cut $750 million from the state highway program, and there is no legislative fix in place to return the funds. There are also no new programs to fund badly needed local street and road repairs. What will you do to tackle this problem at the legislature and make a significant investment in transportation infrastructure that includes our county?
First of all, it was unfortunate to see Measure P fall short of the required 2/3 vote to pass. It's a increasing trend up in the state to ask for local communities, local counties to leverage state and federal dollars with their own contributions. And so that's a conversation that needs to continue so that you can access those state and federal dollars for the necessary improvements we need to make on our local roads and highways. Number 2, we do need to seek regional opportunities. Santa Clara County has Measure B on the ballot, which is going to help with the interchange 101 and Highway 25. It's a critical corridor for those of us in San Benito County traveling to work elsewhere. And so that is a prime opportunity that we have that can be addressed in a regional collaboration through work with Santa Clara County. Third, there's the conversation extraordinary session focused on transportation currently. No resolution has been reached yet, but some of the proposals floating around include increasing vehicle registration fees, addressing our gas tax. But I think even before doing all that, we really need to get back to what happened during our economic recession, which was transportation funds being redirected towards the general fund to make up some of our holes in funding that we had during the tough, difficult recession. Those need to be returned so that we can, again, continue to increase reinvestment in our highways and in our local roads. And so that would be one avenue to pursue heavily up in the state legislature to continue that conversation and to return those transportation dollars to what they were intended to be used for.
Thank you. Ana?
Well, first of all, I would support reinvesting those $750 million that were cut from the state budget originally and put them back into the budget so that we can immediately start doing what we need to do to repair our roads. The governor called a special session, and that was specifically to identify ways to be able to fill the unmet need that we have all over the state for construction and maintenance. And I intend to be very active if and when I get elected. I know transportation. I served on my local transportation agency, and I want to make sure that rural counties are at the table when we're negotiating about how money should be spent, because as is usual, rurals get the short end of the stick. So the funding includes public transportation as well as fixing the roads and highways. So I want to make sure that we can continue to support public transportation here in this region. It's very difficult in rural counties, but it's really very, very important. And the construction of 156 is 2 or 3 years down the road. I want to make sure that we start that as soon as possible, like tomorrow. It's critically important, and if it's $1 million that we're waiting for, that'll come. We'll figure out a way to get it, and so let's get it done. There's also a need for turning lanes and acceleration lanes. The bottom line is you get stuck behind a truck, you're dead. You're not moving at all, and so if we could create those short-term, very simple solutions, it really could go a long way to moving traffic, so that the cars can pass the trucks and get moving and not clog up the intersections as much as happens now. The bottom line is that truck traffic is really good. That's our economy. And we understand that it's important that those trucks be on the road, but we also want to make sure we're moving car traffic as well, and that we don't get stuck behind the very, very slow-moving trucks. So I intend to be very active in this and work in conjunction with the governor to make sure that our region gets our fair share of the dollars.
Thank you. This next question will be directed first to Ana Caballero. Counties such as San Benito house the workers that keep Silicon Valley and the Monterey region humming economically. But these areas get almost all the peripheral economic benefits through taxes that support infrastructure and education. Meanwhile, we have the economic and infrastructure woes of a bedroom community. What plans do you have to level the playing field for the San Benito County?
So, this issue is true throughout the entire 30th Assembly District. We have a tremendous need for workforce housing in our communities, but we end up housing other regional needs. So I want to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to be able to house our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, as well as our farm workers that really contribute to the local economy. So I want to bring housing dollars down so that we can do that. But the economic development is done locally, and it's done through land use policies at the local level, and that's as it should be. So I want to, they end up zoning the land and then building and developing, and I want to make sure that we bring the state resources that are available that can be devoted to helping the counties figure out what their economic development plan is going to be and be partners as well. And so I want to make sure that we bring the transportation dollars, because that's really critical to building the infrastructure. And in this region, since water is such a critical element in the infrastructure, I want to make sure that we bring the dollars necessary to focus on water and in particular water storage, water conservation, and water recycling. Because if we do not protect agriculture in our region, then we will continue to be even a bigger bedroom community than we are today. And I don't want to see that happen. That's not in our best interest. So it's going to take a multitude of different resources coming together and making sure that we're supporting the local decisions that get made. And I want to work with the local county board of supervisors as well as the cities here in this county to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all moving in the same direction, and that whatever the resources are that we need, that they're in place in order to build the economy.
Thank you.
So I do want to say that there's incredible opportunity here in San Benito County. I know that multiple stakeholders have taken part in the question, in this particular and specific question about the economic vitality of the region. And I've read and listened to part of that visioning process, which includes, of course, your agricultural community, but also your emerging green energy industry as well. And I think that those are two keys, points, and areas to tap into to increase the economic vitality of the region. I know that compared to other counties in this Tri-County region, San Benito County has a higher percentage of organic farming that is taking place here in the region. It's an emerging economic engine throughout other parts of the state of California as more people are interested in the food and wine movement. So the pairing of those two particular industries provides a very good economic opportunity for San Benito County. And also, as more people begin to shift and more communities begin the conversation around community choice aggregation, when you talk about the Panoche Valley Solar Project that is coming into the area, there's also an economic opportunity there. As local communities shop around for renewable sources of energy, again, you know, that solar farm, which has the potential to provide energy to over 700,000 homes in the region. As we look, it's an opportunity for different jurisdictions that want to shop locally, that are interested in San Benito County they seek to procure energy. There's another economic opportunity that this region has. And so this is critically important to think about those ways that we can tap into what's already here and expand upon those opportunities, because as Secretary Caballero mentioned, it is important to be able to provide economic and job employment opportunities for people that currently live here, and so that they don't have to leave. They don't have to leave and impact those local roads and highways that we talked about in the previous question.
Thank you. Our third question will be directed to Karina Cervantes Alejo first. The drought continues to pose a great risk to California with higher costs and reduced availability of water. Agriculture has been hit especially hard, but residential customers are affected as well. Viewing this regionally, what are the long and short-term solutions to dealing with the water crisis?
So I'm currently a gubernatorial appointee to the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. And so part of my interest in applying for appointment to that board did have a lot to do with the historic drought that we currently find ourselves in, and also the questions that I grappled with as a city council member in local government, and looking for those kinds of solutions, both short-term and long-term, to adapt to our changing climate, to adapt to our shortage in water throughout the state. And so I've been part of the efforts, both statewide and also at the local level, and looking for ways to incentivize our local residents to continue to conserve. I know that there was an article today in the San BenitoLink that did sort of talk about all the great accomplishments that San Benito County has led on when it comes to water conservation. But I see that as a short-term solution still, especially when you look at projections of a continued drought and potentially facing an even bigger drought down the road. So for us, it is going to be about exploring the full portfolio of options in terms of our water and our long-term water sustainability. So desalination has to be part of that conversation. Before that, making sure that we still expand our water recycling capability and ability, so that we have a source of water to support agriculture, support tourism with those sources of recycled water.
Thank you.
So I had the unique opportunity of serving on the governor's drought task force over the past 3 years, and before that was very active, visiting all over the state, looking at the impact of the drought on different communities, and we are in big trouble. Bottom line is that this is year 6 of the drought. Australia had 12 years of drought, and they totally revamped how they deal with water. So that's really what we're up against right now, is that this is going to be the new normal. We absolutely have to conserve, and the really great thing is that the state of California in total conserved 26% of the water use over the past year. The bad thing is that we backslid, and people have stopped to conserve water because I guess just because they get tired of it. But we need to recognize that we absolutely have to continue conserving, that we have to put the money into the infrastructure to be able to do water storage. We don't have enough water storage. We need to do recycle and reuse in a way that we've never done before. The County of Orange takes water, recycles it, and stores it underground and mixes it and reuses it again. We need to get to that point here. So we need tertiary treatment, and desalination is going to be critically important. In my mind, if we don't do this, then agriculture is really in danger in California. And to me, it's a national security issue. We need to be able to feed our own people here in this country. And if we can't, then we have to rely and depend on other countries. And I'd hate to think that we'd ever get to that point, because the minute they decide they don't like us anymore, then we're in trouble. So we need to be in control of our own food, and the only way to do that is to protect our microclimates that we have here in the 30th Assembly District and make sure we have the water necessary to grow our food.
Thank you. Our fourth and last question will be directed to Ana Caballero first. Gang violence seems to be on the rise in Assembly District 30. What can be done to keep our streets safe and our kids out of gangs?
So one of the things, I had a law practice for 25 years and had an office, as a matter of fact, right here on the corner that previously was a dental office. And I took a leave of absence in order to found and run a nonprofit called Partners for Peace. It was a violence prevention program focusing on youth in particular. And, you know, I studied. This was an area that was not familiar to me, and I really studied very hard to see what do the experts think about how do we reduce youth violence, how do we reduce gang violence in our communities, and they're very simple. It's early childhood education, it's after-school program, it's literacy programs, in particular focusing on children by the 3rd grade, because you learn to read up to the 3rd grade, and after that, you're expected to read in order to do well in school, and vocational ed programs. And so I'm very committed to working as hard as possible to try to bring early childhood education resources to the poorest children among us, because if they do well academically, then they are less likely, it's a prophylactic, it's like a vaccine. They're less likely to get in trouble and to have a hard time adjusting to social values and social mores. These best practices we need to bring to our community, and we're only going to do it if we have the funding necessary. So we're not taking from K-12 in order to do it. We're creating new programs. And my idea is to take the community college and partner them with the home-based care providers that so many parents are required to use, and have them receive the training so that they're teaching children what they need to know so that they're kindergarten ready.
Thank you.
So part of our efforts in the city of Watsonville has been to make continued investments in our young people in the community. We have a 30% population that's under the age of 25. And so for us, it's significant to make those early investments. And one of the investments that we made, as mayor, I had the opportunity to develop a summer jobs program for young people. And this was critically important because we know that the summer months, we often see peaks in criminal activity and crime in local neighborhoods. And so it was really about addressing any potential risk that local neighborhoods might be encountering during those summer months. And also in response to the federal funding that's continually on the decline when it comes to job training and job employment opportunities. And this is also significant because the research indicates that if you provide youth the opportunity to work during those critical years, 14 to 16, 14 to 17, then it does result in greater lifetime earnings, greater employability, greater skills, and discipline necessary to succeed in their future work-life opportunities. And so that's an investment that I was happy to lead on. In the long term, also, as a recent graduate, I participated in a program focused on restorative justice. And so restorative justice is really about taking early offenders, first-time offenders, And rather than incarceration being the only punishment for the crime that they might have committed, you offer them opportunities to engage with the community as a way to repay their debt to society. And so I worked on a program that mandated community service, but also included support for them to be able to get back into school, also look for work, also look for leadership opportunities, work in conjunction with their social workers, their counselors, their probation officers. So there was a full circle of support for that student, and it's that kind of wraparound service that ultimately addresses some of those root causes that lead people to engage in negative behavior.
Thank you. Next, we will have the closing statements. You will have each 2 minutes to give your closing statement. And first, we have Karina Cervantes Alejo.
Sure. So again, I just want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to talk about our vision for the 30th Assembly District. It's just fantastic, the upcoming election, and having this opportunity to be able to share with what we hope to do with the opportunity and privilege of serving the 30th District up in Sacramento. I did want to start and talk a little bit about what has been happening in our race, the current direction. We've seen an unprecedented number of spending come in from outside special interest groups. And I do feel that they have distorted each of the records of the candidates, both distorting mine towards the negative, but also hiding, some of the leadership of my opponent. So I think it's important, as she touts, her experience serving at multiple levels of government. We also need to judge her on the criteria, what have you done in those positions for the community? And I think, addressing, she made national news by risking the closure of libraries in the land of Steinbeck, the city of letters, which is disappointing when she talks about, access to literacy and people have the opportunity to read. I also think that a local newspaper described her tenure up as secretary to Governor Brown's cabinet as doing very little, but overseeing an IT debacle that tripled in price under her leadership, starting at $28 million and ending at $96 million. And I would say that that's not the kind of experience we need up in Sacramento. She's further hindered by being capped at only being able to serve 2 years. And again, many of these issues, affordable housing, transportation, they require the long-term effort, the energy, the cultivation of relationships to be sure that we're delivering for Sacramento. And I feel that I have the capacity to be able to deliver for the 30th Assembly District, and I ask for your support.
Thank you.
Well, again, I want to thank BenitoLink and the Farm Bureau for holding this forum. It gives us a great opportunity to talk about the things that we know how to do, the experience. I just spent 5 years working with Governor Brown, and part of our charge was to balance the budget, which we did, to make sure that consumers were protected, which we focused on, make sure that civil rights were protected, which is what I worked on. But more importantly, this governor is really focused on getting things done. And that's one of the reasons I decided to come home so that I could run for this position. Because we have some serious issues here in this community. And I want to be able to sit across the table from the governor as we're trying to resolve some of these issues and make sure that I can get the resources that we need to be able to move traffic, to be able to move affordable housing, to be able to move our water projects. All of these things are critically important. That's the reason that I have the support of Supervisor Rivas, Supervisor Barrios, Supervisor De La Cruz, Supervisor Botello, and Supervisor Munzer. Why I also have the entire Board of Supervisors in Monterey County, why I have the Monterey County Farm Bureau, the United Farm Workers, the Teamsters, and the United Food and Commercial Workers, all of the biggest unions representing farm workers, as well as the Salinas Valley Chamber of Commerce. The bottom line is that they know I can get things done. They know that I work collaboratively to try to make people feel like government can be at the table but not responsible for everything. And so, because they also know that we need to work together in order to get things done. We don't need to throw rocks at each other, and we don't need to call each other names. So the bottom line is that I'm here today because I would be honored to have your support. And I encourage you to get as many people out to vote in November as you possibly can. Thank you very much for coming here today. It's really an honor to be here.